The Trumpet Daily program begins right now.
Today's world news, what it means, where it's taking us.
I bring you the one and only possible message of world peace.
This is a message of hope, tremendous hope. And he said unto me, you must prophesy again.
The Trumpet Daily program begins right now.
Now, Europe's biggest economy is taking a major step to bolster its defense capabilities. Germany is amending its constitution to exempt defense and security outlays from limits on fiscal spending. I mean, this feels like a whatever-it-takes moment for Germany.
Well, that's right. I mean, extraordinary moves by Friedrich Merz. He's breaking, pardon the pun, with, years of understood fiscal behaviour in Germany. I mean, this debt break that we're talking about survived the pandemic, it survived other crises, and yet Donald Trump has now broken that break effectively for Germany, in a sign of just how serious Germany sees the moment that we're in and the need to really revamp their economy in terms of spending on infrastructure. You can see the reaction in the market on that front today, and really helping take the lead on defence, because Germany, of all the countries in Europe, does have the fiscal room to do this.
The man likely to be Germany's next chancellor has announced a major financial package to boost the country's ailing economy and substantially increase defense spending. Friedrich Merz of the centre-right CDU said 500 billion euros would be borrowed to fix infrastructure and that strict government debt rules could be eased to increase the military budget. Germany's defense minister has called this plan historic. Is it?
It absolutely is, Gerhard. It's really worth underlining just how massive this announcement is. Friedrich Merz is someone who is a fiscal hawk. He's on the centre-right. And he's really had to perform a 180 in the last week or so since. And it essentially means that the sky is the limit, as he said, as Friedrich Merz said, whatever it takes.
And again, a peace in Ukraine, cease of weapons in Ukraine, will not erase the Russian threat. So that means clearly Europe has to continue on that path. And it would be a great risk if we stop those investments just for the sake of a ceasefire in Ukraine.
And so I think international partners will be now looking to Germany and saying, yes, finally, Germany has recognized the seriousness of the situation that it finds itself in, with Trump essentially washing its hands of Europe and also of Ukraine. Germany ready to step up now in a big way.
Yeah, Deutsche Bank's analysts saying this is the biggest fiscal change for Germany since reunification.
Wow. Another slow news day. Germany's just they're in the process of rewriting their constitution so that they can spend on a German military machine. You're listening to Stephen Flurry, and this is the Trumpet Daily. We appreciate you joining us on today's show. You can get to the live video stream of this program at trumpetdaily.com or at our Rumble channel, rumble.com/trumpetdaily. Rumble also has the replay every evening, well, actually LFA TV, Live from America TV, replays this show every weekday evening as well. If you'd like to submit some feedback, we've gotten some wonderful emails recently. I haven't been able to get through too many of them on the air because there's just so much to cover in these 55 minutes or so that we have. In any event, td@thetrumpet.com. Notice again, of course we'll get to his speech from last night, Donald Trump's speech. 100 minutes, I think he set a record. The longest State of the Union, or I guess it's supposed to be an address before Congress, because if you're only 6-7 weeks into your presidency, there's really not much to talk about as far as the State of the Union is concerned. But as Trump pointed out, these 43 days have produced more for America than some entire presidencies have. But as he's speaking, or at least hours before, here you have this news breaking from Germany. Yeah, Merz, he likes to keep the budget strict. They don't like to accumulate debt in Germany. But now they're lifting the restraints so that they can spend on a military machine. If you can believe it. How soon we forget as I covered on yesterday's rather, as we covered on the show. I mean, it's recent history that the German military machine tried to destroy America and everything that it stands for. Same with Britain. If Hitler had his way, what a different world we'd be living in right now. Look at all that has happened since 1945. And here we are celebrating, as Donald Trump did, together with the Republicans. The Democrats certainly didn't, but lots of celebrations last night inside those congressional chambers, celebrating a lot of big news in America. Big news, productive news, growth, investment, an end to so many bizarre and crazy policies, as he said, about just sealing the border. Here they were. The regime media was in on it too. Well, we need new legislation if we're ever going to be able to secure the border. Trump said, no, you just needed a new president because they've closed the border and they've done it in 6 weeks. Actually, they did it in 2 weeks. Euro intelligence regarding Germany's moves. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody thinks this is serious. But just think about all of those prophecies of God. And Herbert Armstrong sounding the alarm for decades. My father following in those same steps. Euro intelligence says this is bigger than what anyone expected. So what happens when Germany goes all in and they make moves to build a military that's even bigger than what anyone expected? Is that a cause for alarm? Is that something anyone should worry about? I mean, even leave aside America for a moment, or the Trump administration. Are there any European nations concerned about this, given the history over the past century? It says here, the future German coalition partners effectively abolished the debt brake as the binding constraint of German fiscal policy. They exempted all defense spending above 1% of GDP from the debt rules and set up a 500 billion euro off-budget funding vehicle for infrastructure, and may have to agree to similar increases for climate change spending, secure support for the Greens, etc. So everyone's going to get a piece of it. But at the heart of this is the push to build its military. It says this only became possible due to Donald Trump, but the move also entails fiscal and monetary risks going forward. Trump is to blame. Trump is the reason. You know, last night at the State of the Union, Trump says, yeah, I got a nice note from Vladimir Zelensky, and evidently he's having second thoughts, and he's ready to come to the negotiating table and to make peace. And as I was sitting there listening to the speech, I thought, oh, well, I wonder if the reaction to that 10-minute showdown, Europe meeting, it was a crisis, a summit. They had to come together because of the 10 minutes and do something. And are they ever doing something? I thought to myself, I wonder if now we'll hear that Europe or Germany is going to dial it back, because it looks like Donald Trump brought Zelensky back for all of we just ganged up on Zelensky. Oh, Trump is abandoning us. Trump cannot be relied upon. Trump is our vulnerability. And here comes Vladimir Zelensky, almost apologizing, not quite, but he got close. And now saying he and the Ukrainian people want peace. He didn't sound like that following the meeting, the showdown, the setup, whatever you want to call it. But now you see Europe, they still have to go forward because, well, look at what Donald Trump said during that 10-minute period. The German debt brake, Germany's constitutional balanced budget rule, was effectively killed by the same two parties that introduced it in 2009. What happened last night is without a doubt the biggest U-turn in Germany since 1969, when Germany started to revalue the Deutschmark. These are dramatic changes. I mean, think about how many defining moments we've had just in the last few weeks. I was going to bed last night thinking, well, today's show, I'll relieve a little pressure off myself, and today's show will be easy. We've got all these clips from Donald Trump and his speech. We can play some of those. And then I wake up to this. I get the news stack from our Edstone office. Here you go. This is bigger than what we were expecting. The sheer depth and breadth of the coalition agreement goes beyond anything political observers, us included, imagined possible. We didn't think this was possible. And now it's happening. And it's made possible because of, you guessed it, Orange Hitler. Yeah. No threat of a Hitler ever reemerging from the European continent. He's already here. He's orange. He can't be relied upon. He can't be trusted. Further down it says, as they want to pass this reform in the outgoing Bundestag, they will need the support of others. It says the FDP already said no. The Greens, who support the debt brake reform in principle, are furious. Friedrich Merz is asking them to approve something he denied to them when they were in government. But see, now things have changed. Now you have Donald Trump, who is Europe's vulnerability. I mean, they're stopping just short of calling Trump, a Trump-led America, the enemy. And think about America. The Bible says we're going to look to Germany as our lover. And they're going to build this military machine, and we are going to be quite happy with that because we trust them. They don't trust us, and they're saying it openly. But we sure trust them. And Britain sure trusts Germany. Nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. Just carry on. It says here, the CDU-CSU has vacated the space of fiscal conservatism. This space will be filled by others. Well, and it goes on. But what did the Euro intelligence say? This is bigger. This is bigger than what anyone expected. Listen to Ambrose Evans Pritchard. He's a journalist in the UK. He says, well, the title, European Rearmament is Going to Turn the World Upside Down. Why aren't there more op-eds like this? Why aren't there more headlines like this? That's at the Telegraph. European rearmament is going to turn the world upside down. I played the clip yesterday, the European Commission lady, who said we're living in the era of rearmament. And nobody seems concerned. Pritchard says it has taken 3 years, but Europe is at last putting its collective economy on an industrial war footing. What happens when Europe puts its economy on a war footing? I mean, I know they talk about Ukraine and, well, there's Putin, but outside of that, where are the immediate dangers? This has been planned for a long time. They have been waiting for the United States to depart. They have been in secret deals with Vladimir Putin. Look at the energy deal. I went through the numbers with you yesterday. They spend more money, Europe does, on Putin, giving money to Putin for energy than they've done to help Zelensky. And then they talk about the United States can't be trusted. The United States is not a reliable ally, even as Zelensky has some second thoughts, has reconsidered, and now he's back before Donald Trump. He needs Trump's help. It says here, another leaked plan revealed by Della Sera talks of converting Italy's struggling car industry into a revamped ecosystem of weapons production with subcontractors across Lombardy and the Veneto supplying the German armaments plants, much as they now supply car components for Volkswagen, Mercedes, and BMW. What was that article? I have it later in my notes. I showed you the headline yesterday, but it was the German industrialists. That was from, I think, 2022 at the Trumpet magazine. It's incredible what we're witnessing, what we're watching. Those automotive factories, just changing their focus. Let's now produce military vehicles. Let's now produce armaments of war. It says here, it's becoming obvious to everybody that defense spending is the way to offset job losses in the car industry. This is from Ambrose Evans Pritchard. The immense figures under discussion in Berlin would have been politically unthinkable a week ago before the total loss of faith in U.S. friendship. Should I read that again? We're talking about immense figures. This is bigger than we thought, says Eurointelligence. These are immense figures, and you couldn't have imagined this even a week ago. Think about how different the world is right now than it was last Thursday. Before the total loss of faith in U.S. friendship. U.S., you see, America is no longer a friend. It says, if enacted on anything close to this scale, such a high-octane blast of military Keynesianism will entirely change the economic and geopolitical shape of the world. It's coming. It is the coming boom in Europe that we should all be betting on. Bavaria's premier, Markus Söder, is the weather vane of our times, leading the call for a full-blown revival of German military power, along with a joint nuclear deterrent in concert with France and the UK. We need a drone force of 100,000 drones, 800 new tanks, 2,000 Patriot missiles, and 1,000 Taurus just for Germany as a protective shield like the Iron Dome. Only the strong will be taken seriously. These are chilling remarks. We've got to be strong. We've got to have a strong military. Otherwise, people aren't going to take us seriously. We're entering into a dangerous new era. We're already there. The U.S. no longer a friend. NATO basically blowing up before our eyes. It says further on, military revival could do much the same for a Europe trapped in economic defeatism and learnt helplessness for 2 decades. It's a way of achieving the turbocharged growth of the Draghi plan by other means. It's a way to turbocharge your economy. You look at some of the stocks in Europe, the defense industry right now, I mean, it's booming. It's booming. Further on, it says, Chancellor-in-Waiting Friedrich Merz has jettisoned 2 of his core political doctrines in a matter of days. A lifelong defender of Atlanticism has all but given up on America, and a champion of, some kind of fiscal rigor. I don't know that word. It says it's suddenly searching for ways to amend to the German constitutional debt brake while there is still a chance in the old Bundestag. They're just moving with pace. They're moving fast. Ambrose says Europe will find the money for weapons because it has to. It's the top priority now, and it's happened suddenly. It's happened just in the last few days. This is astonishing to watch. You're seeing headlines coming out of Germany, headlines coming out of Europe that we have been anticipating for 50, 60, 70 years. And no one's sounding the alarm. No one's concerned about it. This is from AFP in France. Calls grow in Germany to revive compulsory military service. What? A military draft? Germany's conservatives, who are set to lead the next government, agreed that the country should quickly reintroduce compulsory military service. Quickly! We've got to do it fast. Merz and his bloc that topped the elections last month has argued that in the era of U.S. President Donald Trump, Europe will have to better handle its own security. You hear it over and over again. They've got Trump on the brain, just like the radicals do here in the States. I mean, here they're pretty well defeated. We'll get to that if we have time. The Democrats, waving the ping-pong paddles, really? That's how you're going to protest last night? You're going to sit there? Well, you've got a teenager surviving cancer. You can't get up and clap for him? You can't get up and clap for the 95-year-old mother of the prisoner that Donald Trump got out of prison, out of a Russian prison? You can't clap for the young, impressive straight-A student and athlete who got approved to West Point? Is that not something you can cheer on? Donald Trump has broken that party, the Democrat Party. God has silenced Obama. You talk about other prophecies that just make your head spin. As I said yesterday, I mean, what a time to be alive, to see all of these prophecies being fulfilled. Germany's going to be instituting the draft, the military draft. And meanwhile, God has intervened to save America. It's just temporary. And look at how he's crushed the radical left. These are people who used to control everything, it seemed, just 2 seconds ago. And now they sit on their hands, and they can't even cheer for West Point or for a cancer survivor. Listen to, just to switch gears over to Trump's speech, President Trump's speech. Listen to what he had to say last night in his congressional address, clip 5.
Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Earlier, he talked about just how productive the first 43 days have been. That's it, just 43 days. Listen to clip 6.
We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again.
You know, as I sat there last night watching this powerful speech, a lot of conservative commentators said it was maybe his best ever. But as I watched it, I just thought about the transformation that this man has undergone with God's help. Certainly you see just the last 9 years how his eyes have been opened to the evil and the corruption within the deep state, within government. And look at all that's been exposed just in these 43 days with Doge, the DOJ, the new leadership at the DOJ and the FBI. I mean, it's just starting. But even in looking at Donald Trump over the long haul, I mean, it wasn't that long ago when he was just kind of a celebrity party goer, donating to the Clinton campaigns. He's changed in a lot of ways for the better. You can see God's hand in preparing him for this moment. He's obviously not a conservative through and through, but he's hardly a Democrat. He's an American. He's a patriot. And you can see the sincerity. You can see the genuineness. This is a generous person. He's kind-hearted. He has the zinger here and there. He has the angry tweet from time to time, but that's part of just the boldness and the strength as well. He's not converted, not yet. He will be when he has his opportunity to learn and to understand God's truth. But as I was telling the students this morning, it's inspiring just to see a fruitful life. A lot of people, they near the end of their lives and they want to, retire early and just kind of disappear and do nothing. This is a man who's been fruitful and productive, whether in business or now in politics. He's 78 years old. And as I said earlier this week, I mean, he's prophesied to save Israel, to save America. And only in God's purpose and plan could you see that happening in such a dramatic and miraculous way right here in America, while at the same time you have the rise of a German military machine in Europe. God's prophecies are being fulfilled. Listen again to what Donald Trump said about his opponents, those that tried to destroy him, those that use these weaponized agencies to try to take him out. This is clip 7.
And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out?
Not too good. Not too good.
How'd that work out? Another applause line where Democrats were just sitting there, sitting on their hands, or maybe waving the ping-pong, the ping-pong paddle. He defeated them. They tried to destroy him. They tried to kill him. He had a pretty lengthy discourse on Butler, Pennsylvania. You heard a bit of it in the earlier montage. I believe God saved my life in order to save the country. He's right. He's right. The tables have now definitely turned. All last year, whether it was the fake president or Kamala, they were blaming the disaster at the southern border on Republicans in Congress. Yeah, they got in the way of some legislation that just would have made everything perfect. It's the Republicans' fault. Listen to Trump last night as he drops a truth bomb on that narrative. This is clip 9.
Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation, we must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
He's right. He comes in and seals the border. You just need a president that's willing to use some strength, some authority to get things done. And you need a competent staff working underneath, a good cabinet, and so on. And all of that is so much better this time than it was in 2017, when he didn't know the half of it, insofar as the deep state corruption. But now he sees, and he's getting in there with a sense of urgency, and he's taking action. And there's a real show of strength in America. Here at home, he's talking about, I mean, when he is maybe a little closer to, what's good and right, insofar as foreign policy goes. You listen to him talk about Panama Canal or Greenland, as he did last night. He's making some miscalculations. We see that happening with pace in Europe. But he also sees that the security of the United States needs to be solidified, not just at the southern border, but we can't have China coming in and taking over the Panama Canal, or Russia threatening us from the North Pole, or whatever. So here are the one. This, I'm sure, gets under the skin of a lot of the ruling class, the elites. This is what he said about Panama Canal, firstly. Clip 8.
To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it. Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals.
And then later on, Greenland, clip 11.
And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before.
At least he left Canada out of it this time. But Greenland, you heard the chamber laugh. People, he's serious. People still think it's a big joke. Greenland, he's already taken steps in the direction of the Panama Canal. I mean, this is bold, decisive action. How could, again, you think of the apparent dichotomy. How could in one sense it be so right, so strong, so spot on, but with something other than that, such a grave miscalculation? Well, because there's quite a few prophecies that are unfolding at the same time, and they're accelerating, as I got into on yesterday's program. He started his speech, President Trump, by pointing at the Democrats, saying, there's not anything I say tonight that you're going to applaud, that's going to put a smile on your face, that will make you stand up and cheer. Listen to him as he calls them out for that. This is clip 10.
And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
It shouldn't be this way. And you know what? He was right. They didn't stand and cheer except when Donald Trump said, we've given hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. And then they're like, oh, Ukraine, as Elon Musk tweeted out. They didn't cheer one time except for another country. That's how much they hate America. That's how much they hate Americans. How do you not get up with a cancer survivor who loves the police? He wants to be in law enforcement himself. He gets this honorary membership as one of the Secret Service agents. It was a feel-good moment, but not for Democrats. Same with the college kid that got accepted to West Point, or the 95-year-old mother who pleaded with President Trump, in Butler, by the way. She pleaded with President Trump to rescue her son because Joe Biden wouldn't do anything. Joe Obama didn't do anything. When they had the power, Trump gets in there and he's out. Listen to these MSNBC commentators as they talk about the cancer victim. I think the kid is 13 years old, and this is clip 2.
But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
For the record, and this is disgusting, the president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who's thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge. The Doge cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer.
Let's just stick with DJ. I mean, I think that if there was a moment where your whole body could relax and you could celebrate someone, it was the 13-year-old cancer survivor who would like to be a police officer. It was a genuinely beautiful moment, in the moment that probably was most familiar to the State of the Union addresses we were both a part of. Problem is, in the beauty of that child is the tragedy of the Trump presidency. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide.
What is wrong with these people? They will never let January 6th go. Oh, that's nice that he wants to be a police officer. I just hope he never has to defend the Capitol against Trump supporters and then commit suicide later. That's disgusting. If Rachel Maddow wants to be disgusted about anything, it should be this. It should be. It's heartening to know that these two, Maddow and Nicole Wallace, were absolutely roasted online. These people, they are so afflicted with TDS. You see, TDS, it got him some ratings in 2016 and 17. Yeah, back then it was, it was a little more popular to get Trump, to go after the bad orange man. It's not so anymore. Every other day, it seems. They lost Joy Reid, Don Lemon. You go right down the list. The ratings, they've plummeted. It's because of this. Those images of Democrats sitting on their hands, I mean, those are gonna stay with people for a long time. That's what one commentator said last night. Those will not soon be forgotten. Donald Trump has crushed the Democrat Party. It wasn't just God bringing him back to save America. As my father has written, so much of that saving has also been about exposing. And he's exposed these people for what they are. They are anti-American. They were all part of the fundamental transformation. And now they look pathetic and pitiful. Listen to this montage. People going on and on with what, I guess, what they feel like qualifies as resistance, and then just the reaction to what they did. Clip 4.
We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
It is the best way to get it across to a person who uses his incivility, against our civility. And I'm also working on my articles of impeachment. This president is unfit. He should not hold the office. 34 felony convictions, 2 times impeached.
My primary takeaway was that Democrats stole the show, but not necessarily in a good way for the party. Look, I think there's a reason that Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told his members yesterday to be on their best behavior, not to be protesting, not to draw attention away. And they didn't listen. They made themselves the story. They heckled, they had signs, they walked out.
It was feisty, but it doesn't help the Democratic Party any. But it's not something that the Democrats can score points on.
This was a horrific night for the opposition party, regardless of how well she just spoke. It started out with Al Green getting thrown off the House floor because he couldn't keep his emotions under control. Then they had the ridiculous paddles, which now social media is roasting.
That you said false on one side and
ridiculous.
Elon on
and
the
then
other.
finally, and maybe most terribly, the Democrats who couldn't find it in their heart to stand for objectively good things, including the 95-year-old mother of Mark Fogel, and Mark, who got rescued from a Russian prison, and they couldn't even stand up for that. I thought Democrats came into this speech lost and defeated by Donald Trump, and today it looks to me like they're even more lost and even more defeated than when this speech started.
The Democrats came ready to fight back with their little paddles, okay? That is how you save democracy, by quietly dissenting or bidding on an antique tea set. It was hard to tell what was going on. Democrats. In fact, I made my own sign.
The bingo signs were killing me. I don't know who thought up the bingo signs, but they should be fired.
Michael, this is an indictment, in my opinion, on the Democratic leadership.
The Democrats seem to be falling into trap after trap after trap as he recognized these people and celebrated the people he pointed to in the gallery and their stories, while the Democrats sat glumly on their hands through all of that. It was a terrible look.
You can really sense Republicans with a pep in their step and Democrats rather demoralized. I mean, understandably so, given the fact that Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House, not to mention a conservative lean on the U.S. Supreme Court. But beyond that, the Democrats, not to be cliche about it, but they are in disarray. They do not know how to be the opposition force.
They're having a hard time trying to figure out how to deal with Trump, and they're also having a hard time trying to figure out who they should put forward.
Who's going to step forward and challenge Trump from this point forward? They're lost. They're defeated. They're demoralized. I mean, think about where we were just a year ago. Before the summer, before the head tilt, before the second assassination attempt, before all the convictions. Oh, they were so excited. He's gone. A year ago, they were just getting into the thick of it with the lawfare. And all of these talking heads, they were giddy with delight. This is the end of Orange Hitler, finally. Obama was still speaking regularly. He was on the circuit. He was out there with George Clooney. He was raising funds. He spoke for the party. And now he's been silenced. As I said earlier, so many defining moments. And one of them from last night, besides it just being a very solid America First speech, it also revealed a defeated opposition party, demoralized and lost. Can't even get up and clap for something that's objectively a good thing. Can't do it. That's how diseased they are with TDS. As far as this dramatic and miraculous turnaround for Jeroboam, listen to what Britt Hume had to say following his speech last night. Clip 1.
This was the most boisterous, the longest, the most partisan speech I've ever heard a president give in this kind of setting, and I go back about maybe 50 years on this. I also think it may have been the most effective. I mean, if you ever doubted that Donald Trump is the colossus, the political colossus of our time and our nation, this night and this speech should have put that to rest. The Democrats seem to be falling into trap after trap after trap as he recognized these people and celebrated the people he pointed to in the gallery and their stories, while the Democrats sat glumly on their hands through all of that. It was a terrible look. Al Green's attempt to disrupt the speech was a bad look for the Democrats. This was I think, politically speaking, this was pretty powerful stuff, as powerful as I think I've heard.
The political colossus of our time. Who could have predicted, besides the trumpet, who could have predicted this even a year ago? Who could have predicted this 4 years ago? 4.5 years ago, when they stole the election? When he was virtually silenced? When they created the fake Fedsurrection or insurrection? They're still going with that, as you heard from Nicole Wallace. And now he's the political colossus of our time. Why God is saving America through Trump. That's the featured article in the March issue of the Trumpet magazine. If you aren't a Trumpet subscriber, make sure you call our operators today. You see the 800 number there, 1-866-930-3024 if you live in the U.S., Canada, or the Caribbean. The call is toll-free. The subscription, totally free. No cost, no obligation. A 1-year subscription to tomorrow's news today, the Philadelphia Trumpet. President Trump signed executive orders that will halt illegal immigration, designate drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, approve oil drilling, and enact tariffs. He said the U.S. government's official policy is that male and female are the only two genders. He referred to that last night. Said that God's happy with the way you are as a child of God, as a creation of God. He renamed Mount Denali as Mount McKinley and the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. That's quoting Trump. And then my father says, this is a stunning contrast from the dangerous policies that characterize the administrations of Barack Obama and Joe Biden. It's night and day. As it turns out, all you needed was a new president, he said last night. And now the border is secure. How did this dramatic change happen? Trump answered this question in his inaugural speech. After referencing the attempt on his life last summer, he said, I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. The language God uses from 2 Kings 14 is to save America or save Israel. Satan was about to blot out even the name. And God looked at this bitter affliction and said, I'm going to intervene. But why? That's the point of the article. Why is God saving America through Donald Trump? It says, even through the darkest days of Trump's political wilderness years, I showed you how God prophesied that he would bring him back and lead a national resurgence. He went through his dark days. He had his wilderness years, just like Churchill. And this made Churchill a better leader, a stronger man. The same happened with Donald Trump. As he told Lee Smith in the opening pages of his biography, I was virtually silenced. I had no voice. And yet he came back from the dead, politically, and really in more ways than one. God intervened. My father says here, this is truly a miracle. Many people are thanking God for this stunning turn of events. God has been protecting and empowering this man. Look at what Donald Trump has endured for the past 9 years. I know of no other man who would be willing to resist such fierce and relentless opposition. And look what he has accomplished. In many ways, he has done a great work. God's been able to use his talent, ability, and fervent passion to fight America's enemies, especially those within, to temporarily save this country. That is clear to see and something to behold. I expect this to happen even more dramatically during his second term. We're seeing some very dramatic and miraculous events. Whether you look at the United States or consider Europe, he says here, God wants to make America's temporary resurgence permanent, but that will happen only if we as a people truly, genuinely repent and turn to God, and that includes the president. My father says God preserved and protected a man who was universally considered a political corpse. Against all the odds, God exalted him back into the presidency in breathtaking fashion. Prophecy said it would happen, and it has. But now what are you going to do with it? We studied through Colossians 1 this morning, talking about growing, increasing in God's knowledge, and growing in character. God wants us to see these miracles and to turn to him in repentance and faith. That's all we have time for on today's show, the fastest moving hour in broadcasting. You're listening to Stephen Flurry, and this is the Trumpet Daily. We thank you for joining us on today's show, and we'll see you again tomorrow.